All right, let's jump right in there today. I have been cooking up a witch's brew of wisdom this morning. I was reading earlier in the Philokalia some of the old apostolic fathers and very early Christian monastics about prayer of the heart and about communing with the beloved or the divine deep within. And many of these monks were talking continually about guarding the heart and how important that was and how to go about doing that. So that was kind of in my mind. That was the first ingredient. The second ingredient is that I went and was reading in the Cloud of Unknowing, which is a 15th century document written again by an unknown mystic, Christian mystic. And he says the following. I'll just read this to you. It's going to be important to the overall interpretation of what's going to happen next. In this quote, it says, "Lift up your heart to God with a meek stirring of love, and mean himself, look for God, and not of his goods." So don't look for anything that he's got to get from him or her, but look to the divine itself, and that's up to you to define what that divinity is. But to God, we'll call it God for the sake of this. "And none of his goods, and thereto look and loathe to think of anything but the divine, anything but that love within, so that nothing but that love or nothing but that thought of God will work in your wit or in your will, but only God himself. To do that in you is to forget all the creatures that God ever made and works of them, so that your thought and your desire are not directed or stretched to any of these things in the world of the senses, anything outside of yourself, but you're remaining anchored to that sense of love, that sense of being that we've been talking about from the path of knowledge and even in the path of devotion. So that no thought or desire gets directed or stretched to any of these created things, to anything outside of yourself, outside of your being, neither in general or in the particular, but let them be. Take no heed of them." That's that Buddhist practice of letting the thoughts of the mind just come and go. Let it pass. Don't become hooked on it. Don't feel a need. Don't let it create a need or a sense of lack in you. Don't let it convince you that your happiness lays outside of yourself in the acquiring of something beyond what this divine fulfillment within, this what lives in the shrine of the heart, what is your very existence, what is your knowledge, what lets you know and how to learn and how to grow and how to change, how to evolve. That essence of self, which is your intelligence, that very sense of being your existence, and that thing that always lets us know love and not love, that bliss inside, that joy inside. He's saying camp your entire attention on that within. Don't let anything lure yourself outside. This is the work of the soul that is most pleasing to the divine, to you, to your highest self. Now, where are we going with this? Well, oddly enough, I set down both of these books and was laying there and started to read in the Ramayana, in the story of when Sita is captured by Ravana. Now, if you don't know that story, it's a great story. I totally encourage you to jump into it. It's amazing, the Ramayana. It's a big book, but amazing stories. You have never met such noble characters, such beautiful people, and seen such a great story of the inner life unfold in really an awesome epic. But in this particular scene, there's Rama and Sita, which are basically God and his consort, as it were. And they have been in exile in the forest by an evil, king for 13 years, and they've only got one more year to go. And they're at an ashram. They're at a holy place in the middle of the woods. And it's Rama and his brother Lakshmana and his wife Sita. And Sita sees this golden deer running off through the woods, and she's like, "Oh, Rama, I must have that golden deer." And Rama says, "A golden deer? That doesn't sound plausible to me. I think it's an illusion." And she says, "Oh no, please, I would just love to have that golden deer. Please get it for me. You are the Lord of the universe. You won't fall. Nobody can, conquer you. Please go." And he says, "Well, for 13 years you've stayed by my side here in the woods, and I haven't been able to do anything for you to please you for that commitment. So, okay, I'll go ahead, and even though I think I know better, I'm going to go ahead and do this. And he runs off and he starts chasing this deer, hunting it. And it seems like no matter how close he gets, the deer is always just a little bit farther off. And it occurs to him, he's like, I really think something's up here, But he nonetheless is able to put in an arrow and shoot the deer and actually hit the deer in the heart. And suddenly the illusion stops and it's a demon. And in his dying throes, the demon yells out in Rama's voice, Lakshmana, I've been hit by an arrow from this demon. I'm in peril. Come and save me. And so Lakshmana, who's been left back at the ashram to protect Sita, to protect her, not to keep her from being kidnapped, hears the voice. Sita hears the voice, and she's like, oh, Lakshmana, you have to go and save Rama. And Lakshmana says, but Rama is God. Rama is the greatest of heroes. Nothing can overcome him. And she's like, and he says, and Rama told me to stay here and to protect you. And she says, but I'm the queen. And I'm telling you to go save my husband. How can him calling for help be a ruse? Go. And so Lakshmana says, okay, I'll go. And before he goes, he draws a golden line around the ashram to protect Sita. And he tells her, okay, just stay within this boundary and you'll be fine. And he goes to get Rama. Now, while those two are away, which was the ruse, Ravana, who's this evil demon, who thinks that Sita's beautiful and wants her for his own wife, he comes in the guise of a holy man asking for a handout, asking for some food. And Sita is, of course, going to oblige him. And he keeps trying to cross the golden line, but he can't because he's Ravana in reality. And Sita can't go outside of the line, so she's like, well, here, I will push this over to you and you can take it. And he, of course, is like, what? I'm a holy man. How can you not hand me the food? What are you going to make me, reach out for it, reach down for it, pick it up? Just hand it to me, or I'm going to curse you. I'm going to cause big trouble for you. And she's like, no, don't do that, don't do that. And so she crosses the line, and of course she gets kidnapped, and the rest of the story happens. Okay, all of that I spend because immediately the other two things that I had been reading came to mind, and I suddenly thought, this story is about that. This story is about protecting your inner love, your Sita, your relationship with the divine. And that you have your wit and your will, that the writer of the Cloud of Unknowing was talking about. Don't let your wit or your will, be the thing that crosses over, that gets attached to things outside of yourself, right? And so in this story, just for the sake of it, I was going to say, well, Rama will be your wit. He's your buddhi. He's your knowing, your isness. He is that highest self. And then you're Sita in this regard. And you see something that you want, that you're convinced you want, a golden deer. Why not? I want it. And so you convince, you hide from yourself in essence. You lie to yourself in essence. You make enough good reasons to connect your wit to something outside of yourself, whatever it is you're looking for. Oh, but it's just that thing, and it's harmless, and just go get it for me. And so, you have enough protection, and you're right, it's not a big deal. Rama was safe out in the woods, and he couldn't be vanquished. And so all of that was true. But then he's gone, and then you turn to your will. Now your will wants a little bit more. And this is hankering back to what I always like to talk about with Eve in the Garden of Eden, that she sees the fruit, and number one, it was pleasing to the eyes. And then number two, it looked like it would be good for food. You see, it's that one step at a time, you violate yourself. One step at a time, you take your idea off of your ideal self. What is it that you really want to be? What is it that really fulfills your life? And then you have these momentary desires, these things that come up that have nothing to do with that. Although part of the process quite often is them pretending that they do. I will be your fulfillment. I will be your happiness. I'll give you what you're looking for, They look beautiful to the eye. The senses find them very appealing, but the senses are outside of the heart, you know? And then the wit and the will combine, and you deceive yourself. You violate, you're like, you know it's not right. It hasn't worked 1,000 times before, you know, whatever it is, whether, you know, the drinking or the drugs or the I'm going for the big shots here, you know, for the doozies. But you know, if these things, they lure you out. Oh, just, you know, well, it's a little bit, or what's one more, or I can hang out with that person, or I can go to that place, or I can do this thing. I'm fine, I'm fine. And each of the little steps is okay. Not safe, not good, but probably okay. You know, just like Ramana and Lakshmana really could take care of themselves. But step by step, you're lured beyond the golden line. You're lured away from that protected space inside, that space that is nearest to you, that space where according to Saint Teresa of Avila, the beloved dwells, you know, that inner castle, that inner mansion. And we lose sight. We take our eyes off of our ideal. We take our eyes off of what we know is good, of what we know is right, of what we know that is helpful to us. And we make excuses, and little by little, we betray ourselves. We betray ourselves. And so I wanted to share that because according to the Desert Fathers that I was reading this morning, that's pinnacle to stabilizing, to reaching your highest ideal, toward being the man, the woman, or whatever gender that you have always wanted to be. A person who is self-content, a person who's strong, a person who's giving, a person who's responsible, who can be counted on, whom people turn to when they need help and when they need strength, you know, to be that ideal self. So guard that heart inside. And when something begins to pull you outside of that heart, you know, when the mind starts turning to ideas, when the mind starts turning to desires, when the body starts indicating want or lack, at those times stop, remember what you know is true. Sit in the presence of that beloved within the heart and reconsider. Make sure that you're not deceiving yourself to step outside the golden line and be in trouble with yourself.